Rambling, I'm gonna cut this out. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you for not being sick of me yet. So I get asked a lot by people, whether they're readers or not, what it is about reading that keeps me interested. What helps me from getting into reading slumps, what keeps me reading, what do I do to be reading, 20 something books a month. Overall, how I read so much and how I keep myself interested. I thought that I would answer that question, I guess that's a question. I thought that I would give my tips and my ideas and things that I've done to keep myself interested, and how I've helped other friends of mine get back into reading or find things more that worked for them. So this is basically beginner's how-to guide for getting into reading or returning readers how to keep themselves out of reading slumps. Subscribe. So the first thing that I suggest to a lot of people is simply just finding a genre that works for you. Whether it's romance, it's thriller, it's Greek mythology, it's nonfiction, it's horror. And a lot of times people ask me, how do I know what genre is right for me? And what I suggest to a lot of people is basically whatever genres of movies you really enjoy, that'll most likely align with the books that you like. If you're somebody that hates horror movies, you probably aren't necessarily going to be somebody that likes a horror genre of book. That's probably not going to be something you enjoy. If you're somebody that's a true crime junkie, you're probably going to like thrillers or murder mysteries. If you love rom-coms, you're probably like rom-com books. That's my biggest thing, is comparing generally your taste in movies to what you would like in books. And then to go off with that is to just find specific authors that you like. I will buy anything by Tessa Bailey. I will buy anything by Mariana Zapata. I will buy anything by Colleen Hoover because I like those authors and their writing styles. Pick a couple different books from the same genre by different authors, because sometimes you might like the genre but you don't like that book because you don't like the author's writing style. So I think that that's a good place to start, is pick a couple books from different authors, and if you like their writing style, just keep reading their books. Obviously try some others here and there, but it's always good to find a couple baseline authors that you like so you can just keep reading things that they put out consistently. And then to kind of go off of that, start out with shorter, fast-paced books. So let's say you decide you want to try getting into a little bit of fantasy. I would suggest starting with something that is smaller and fast-paced, like Inheritance Games. It's a fairly quick read, and it's upbeat, and it's going to keep you interested. I would not suggest coming right out of the gate with something like Priory of the Orange Tree. This is an 800-page book that is just straight fantasy world building. You'll spend half of a chapter with the author just describing the environment that they're in. I would suggest anytime you're trying to start a new genre, find something quick and small and upbeat that's going to keep you interested. I would try and keep it under 300 pages until you really establish whether or not you like that specific genre. And then something that's helped me a lot with reading, this is something definitely that you don't have to consider later on, is a Kindle. Definitely you don't have to get one right off the bat. This is definitely something you can invest in once you've given yourself more of a baseline of what genres you like and how much you actually have time to read. Kindles definitely help. And if you're in a place where you can't necessarily afford a physical Kindle, you can always get the Kindle app on your phone, your iPad, whatever electronic device you bring around, because the Kindle app itself is free. Along with Kindle, I would suggest getting Kindle Unlimited, because you can buy physical books on a Kindle for a much cheaper price than buying a paperback. You pay a monthly price and you get thousands of books included with your subscription every month. I read probably at least 5 or 6 Kindle Unlimited books a month, and I can totally make a video about my favorite Kindle Unlimited books. If that's something you guys want to see, let me know. Once you've kind of established a genre or an author, picked out something 100% book-wise that you like, I think a best way to go about it is setting specific times to read. I work full-time. I have a half an hour lunch every day. I either bring a physical book or my Kindle to work, and I read on my half an hour break. It's only a half an hour, but it's still something. If you get out of school 2-3 o'clock, how I'm going to relax for the day is spending an hour once I get home from school or wherever reading. Even if it's you bring a book or a Kindle, if you work out at the gym, you can set it on the top of your treadmill and read while you're working out. Whenever you have spare time, whether it's 15 minutes a day or an hour, I think it's good to just set aside a certain block of time to read. That's going going to keep you more motivated, and you're not going to be so stressed out about whether or not you're going to have time, because you're already going to have time set aside. And along with that, a great thing is audiobooks. Along with Kindle Unlimited subscriptions, I highly suggest an Audible subscription, especially with a book like Pride of the Orange Tree. I listened to probably at least half of this book on audiobook while I was at my job working, because you're able to, you know, keep working and doing your daily routine without having to make the commitment of sitting down and reading a physical book. I definitely have days where I have a headache and I just physically can't sit there and read words, so I'll play my book over Audible so I can just lay in my bed and relax and listen to it. Whoever says that audiobooks is not a real book is wrong, because it is. That's all. So my next tip is to make a TBR. I have 2 or 3 book journals right now, which I'll get into later on. It's always a big help if you keep a TBR. So a TBR, if you don't know, is a to be read. So that's a list of books that you're interested in that you want to read. I personally just have an ongoing list of every single book that I'm interested in that I want to read. I mark off when I've read them, what I rated them, whatnot. But you can also individual TBR list. It's for the month of December, I want to read these 3 books. You can make a list of whatever specific books you want to read in a certain amount of time. Now, you don't have to stick to that TBR. Usually I don't when I make one. I'm very much a mood reader, so a lot of times if I make a list of what I want to read this specific month, I'll only actually read like half of the books on that list, because the other half I'm just at that moment not in the mood to read. It's definitely very helpful, because if you finish a book, you have a list in front of you of books that you're interested in reading, and you aren't just staring at your bookshelves and just thinking, oh my gosh, what one am I going to touch next? Because the more you think about it, the more and more you're just going to sit there and stare at your books and not make a decision. That's going to be less and less time you've spent reading and less books that you've read. Right along with TBRs, I also do this in my book journals. I set goals for myself. You can do this for, you know, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever time frame you want to give. I usually do monthly. I can track how many books I've read, and by the end of the month, if I only read 12 or if I only read 3 books, it helps you keep track of how much reading you're doing, and it gives you something to work for. If you say, for the month of December, I want to read 4 books, you know, a book a week, that gives you something to strive for. And even if you don't hit your 1 book a week, that helps you kind of gauge more and help you get a sense of what is reasonable for you and your schedule. In my book journals, I have a daily reading tracker. So this has all your days of the month, what year it is, the month, and then I list what books I read each day. So the first 2 days of December, those 2 days I spent reading 1 book. Something down here, it's like the 5th and the 6th, I read a book and a half on that day, finished the book and started the next one. So it helps you keep track of what you're actually reading in a day. And there are some days where this one specific weekend in October, I didn't read at all. It helps you keep track of what you're actually reading and what you're accomplishing each month. I love organizing book things, so book journals are definitely super helpful for me. Another thing that I feel like is really important for people to remember is it's okay to DNF a book. So DNFing means did not finish. It's a book that you were super interested in reading and you really thought you were gonna like, but once you got into it, you just weren't into it. I don't DNF a lot of books, but there are some that I have. The most recent book that I DNF'd was the Atlas 6. This was recommended to me all over the place. It's a really popular fantasy book. I was super excited to read it. I got into it and it's just, I couldn't get myself into it. I was struggling to read it. I didn't want to keep reading it. So I DNF'd it. I put it to the side. DNFing doesn't mean that you'll never touch it again. Maybe in a month or 2, I might be in the mood to try reading it again and I might get into it at that point. You do not need to force yourself to finish a book that you don't like. A lot of times if you're sitting there and you're forcing yourself to read a book or read a genre that isn't interesting to you, that's going to put you in a slump, and it's just more time that you're going to sit there and not read something that you really enjoy. Don't make yourself suffer with a book you don't like. If it's not enjoyable and you don't like it, you don't have to finish it. So another big thing that I think is important with reading is just finding a good reading environment for you. Me personally, I cannot be in a room where like the TV is on or people are having conversations because it's distracting to me. I like to be in my room where it's quiet and I can chill and I can just focus on what I'm reading. If you aren't somebody that can read in silence, you can 100% go go on Spotify and find reading playlists where it's just, you know, background music, classical songs. I know a lot of people like to read with rain playlists and things going on in the background. They like to read in their car. Like, find an environment that works for you. The most important one to walk away from is you don't need to compete with other readers, and you don't need to compare yourself to other people. Reading is meant to be something you enjoy, and if simply doing it to compare yourself to others, other book talkers, other booktubers, your other reader friends, if you're just sitting there and comparing the things you have and have not accomplished to what your other friends have, it's just slowly and slowly going to make you not enjoy reading more and more, which just means you're not going to read more and more. You're going to put yourself into a slump, and you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. Reading should be something you should enjoy. It should make you happy. It should be something that you want to do. So I think it's really important to remember that whether you read 100 books in a month, if you read 7, if you read 2, if you read none, you should be proud of yourself for doing what you can with your time. Everybody lives in different environments. Everybody has different amount of free time in their day. It's all up to you as an individual and making the most with the time that you can. So I don't want you to ever sit there and compare yourself and say that you're not doing enough, because you're doing the best with the cards that you have, and you should be proud of yourself for that. I know I am. But yeah, so these are my beginner basic tips, tricks, hacks, I guess, for getting into reading faster, reading more, how to keep yourself out of book slumps. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I appreciate you being here. If you want to follow me and keep up with me on any of my other social medias, they will all be linked in the description box below. I also have my Amazon wishlist linked if you guys want to send me any books that are on there, or send me any of your favorite books. But yeah, I love and appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Good luck on your book reading journey. No matter what happens, I'm proud of you. But yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. I love you.